Welcome to Layer the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. On today's episode, band members fighting on the internet, band drama on social media. It's embarrassing and it needs to stop. What made me think about this, wanting to make this video, is this current battle going back and forth between Mick Mars and the guys in Motley Crue. And it's gotten to a point where they're getting really personal. They're revealing things, behind the scenes stuff that they probably shouldn't be airing out in public. And it has become really embarrassing watching them going back and forth with each other. Now, I experienced this stuff mostly through these metal news sites like Blabbermouth and Metal Injection, and there's others. And for those who maybe aren't familiar with these sites like Blabbermouth is a metal news site, and it just collects news articles. The most recent, the most current ones are at the top, and they rotate out, and they do. It's an active site. There's a lot of articles, new articles every day, and it's a little bit addictive going there because there's always sort of new things going on. But what's over the top about this is just how no holds bar these bands are anymore. It seems like it's escalated and it's gotten worse in the last like 3 to 5 years, and maybe that's just a sign of where we are as a society, that when somebody has an issue, they jump on social media and they just start calling the person they're having a disagreement with, they start calling them names, and it leads to a Twitter fight or something like that. I guess it's just where we're at as a society. But let's face it, bands have always fought. Bands have always had arguments. Ozzy and Black Sabbath had a long-standing feud. Anytime a member gets fired or leaves a band, you'll sometimes see back and forth stuff in the press. But the difference back then is that you weren't getting bombarded with it constantly, and it wasn't as like personal and in depth as it is right now. Bands would say things. They'd call the other, oh, this guy was a crazy, I couldn't work with him, or whatever, or all that stuff. Kevin Dubrow, when he was slagging a lot of the other LA bands, there's always drama, right? Axl Rose was a guy that was involved in a lot of drama. But you would go and read an article about the band, and the most of the article would be about their new album or their tour, and then there'd just be one spot where they would say, hey, what do you think about your ex-band's new singer or something? And the guy might say something. Now it is just so over the top. And like this Motley Crue Mick Mars thing, the last things I was reading, they were like their lawyers were arguing back and forth. And I thought, how embarrassing is this? Another one going on now, and I really have no idea what this feud is about. I haven't read any of these articles. Is Ace Frehley, and I think it's between Ace and Paul, where he's like threatening, if you don't come and do something, I'm going to open the floodgates and let all this information out. And it's embarrassing. And I did a video, and I don't remember exactly what it was called, but it was something like, has the mystery of music, the mystique, is it gone? And basically the video was, I'll link it in the description down below. The video was basically talking about the internet, and because we have so much information, there's very little mystery in bands anymore. There used to be a time where you didn't see a lot of pictures of certain bands, or you didn't get a lot of information on certain bands. They had a little bit of mystery to them. And to me, that added to the enjoyment of the bands. And now, with the way things are now with social media and everything, it is just so it is so wide open that it really feels, I feel embarrassed listening to them go back and forth like children. And what is the point? What do they think this is going to solve? Let's face it, Mick Mars and Motley Crue, this is going to get solved in a court between a whole bunch of lawyers. Is a lawyer going to walk up and say, "Oh, Your Honor, I just want to point out that a lot of people on Blabbermouth are commenting that they think that Mick is right." I mean, does anybody... No. So why are they doing this? Did they just need the public? They need to feel that they're right and that the fans are on their side. I mean, if anything, this for me is like, have you ever been in a situation where you're around a married couple, or to a boyfriend and girlfriend, and they start fighting, and you're in the room with them, and you're friends with both of them, so you don't want to get involved, but they start fighting, they start yelling, and you're sitting there and you feel like so uncomfortable because you don't want to get involved in it, and it's embarrassing, and they look embarrassing. They start getting personal with each other, attacking each other, and it's uncomfortable and it's embarrassing. And that's the way I feel with a lot of this drama that is going on with these bands. And again, it's probably a reflection of our society. We live in this world where everybody feels like they just have to throw everything out on the internet. Every drama, every fight, the only way to get attention is with negativity. And even on like Blabbermouth, you're constantly seeing negative articles, people trashing somebody else, or people saying something offensive and outrageous. And look at what this guy said, trying to get a rile out of people. And it's a sad, I guess, reflection on society that we respond to this stuff. The negative stuff gets more clicks and attention than the positive stuff does. Reality TV shows, it's like it's all about people getting together and fighting, and personalities, and people being obnoxious and crazy and rude to each other. For some reason, we seem to like this as a society, or we tolerate this, I should say, as a society. And what's a shame is that now it feels like in the last 3 to 5 years, this has spilt over into music, into metal, and hard rock. And again, bands always fought, and there were always guys, saying things back and forth. But it's reached this Real Housewives of Motley Crue level, where it's just flat out embarrassing. I see these reality TV shows and I see, don't these people have any dignity, what they're putting themselves through, to embarrassing themselves on TV like this. Well, this is what it feels like these bands are doing. And it takes away from that old video that I did, it takes away from the mystique and the mystery and sort of the way I want to see these bands. I don't want to, I want to know about my bands. I like reading the history and stuff like that, and the behind the scenes stuff, and the producers and how they decided on that album cover. But I don't need to know this. I don't need to know your inner band drama, the pettiness and the vindictiveness that you guys have for each other. I don't need to know about this, and I don't need to see it plastered every other day. You coming out, your lawyer putting a tweet out or something like that, or guys threatening, if you don't do this, I'm gonna tell everybody, open the floodgates on, and the dirt's gonna come out on you guys. It's humiliating and it's embarrassing, and I don't know why these bands do this. And, on top of the Motley Crue thing, another person that does this a lot is KK Downing. When he got fired or left Judas Priest, it seems like once a week, every other week, you see him on these news sites saying something about Judas Priest. It was like he was constantly on there, and you just kind of want to say, okay, you have a beef with the band. You've made that perfectly clear. Now move on. Do your own. He talks more about his issues with Judas Priest than he does about his band KK's Priest. And now, on top of that, he jumps in on the Motley Crue thing. Oh, this is just like when I my thing with Judas Priest, and are you that desperate for attention that not only are you out there airing all your personal stuff, that you gotta latch yourself onto somebody else's fight? You gotta inject yourself into this Motley Crue thing and try to draw attention to yourself. It's embarrassing, and I wish that the bands would stop. Okay, I get it. You're going to have some things back and forth. Sebastian Bach, he's another person that every time you turn around, he's having a Twitter war with Michael Sweet or somebody like that. I mean, it is embarrassing. Just stop. It doesn't have anything to do with the music. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. To us fans, it doesn't. I just want to listen to the music. I want you guys to be cool, or my perception of you to be cool. I don't want this embarrassing, like, childish stuff that you guys are going through. It's like, if I were to put on a Motley Crue record right now, I wouldn't be able to not be thinking about this petty, ridiculous drama that's going on in their band right now. I wouldn't be able to think of anything else, because it's so, like, just out there and all. And I guess I could say, well, stop looking at these news sites, and I should, but they're like social media. It is kind of addictive, and I do enjoy reading the positive articles, seeing it. This is how I find out when bands are announcing tours and albums and things like that. But unfortunately, there's the other stuff, and I guess I shouldn't click on it, but it's hard when you see these ridiculous headlines and you're like, gee, what is this about? Yeah, and you want to click on it and read it, and I guess I shouldn't, but I just wish that these bands would maybe take a step back and say, oh, how does this look from the outside? And I'll tell you, it looks bad. It looks childish. It looks stupid. It looks petty, and it looks like you're trying to separate that's the other thing. It feels like, it's almost like I mentioned, if you've ever been in a room with a couple when they're fighting and you're friends with both of them, and at one point they turn around and say, what do you think? Who do you think is right? Yeah. And you're like, whoa, I don't want to get into this. And this is what it feels like with this too. Like you're being forced into taking sides with this. And it's silly, man. And I wish that, it's my age. I know it's my age that I sit and I often long for the days before the internet, when you didn't know all this stuff, where you weren't hearing from, you didn't know what a guy ate for breakfast in your favorite band that day, and you didn't care. It was about the music. Yeah, sometimes the drama was a little bit interesting. Guys, Roger Waters and David Gilmour arguing and stuff like that. But it didn't seem to overshadow the music the way this does now. And maybe it's because these bands, this is the only way they feel like they can be relevant. Some of these people at this point is that they got to say something outrageous. They got to start a fight with somebody. I mean, that's the way it seems like you get attention nowadays, is starting an internet Twitter fight, social media argument with somebody. So, all right, there you go. What do you guys think about this, about the bands fighting back and forth with each other on the internet, exposing all their dirty laundry out there in the public? Let me know what you guys think about all this. Till we see you again. So you stay heavy, stay metal.